We're back here in the intro arcade. So our next one is addBorder. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so what are we being asked to do for this one?
Given a rectangular matrix of characters, add a border of A, S, T, E, R, I, S, K, S to it.
Wow. Okay, that was interesting. I really had a lot of trouble with the word asterisks. Probably because the parentheses were right next to it. But anyway, okay, so given a rectangular matrix of characters, we want to add a border of ASTERISKS to it. So, keep in mind the way they talk about this is actually a little bit inaccurate because we've seen before a matrix is basically an array containing other arrays. This is actually just an array. It's an array of strings. So we're technically not actually dealing with a matrix here. But we're dealing with something that's kind of like a matrix. Maybe we'll see some of the important differences, but for now, let's try to dive into this thing. So they're basically, well, actually, before we actually get into the specifics, let's take a look at it, at what we're expecting here. So we're starting with this thing, and we basically want to add a border to it. And I think that's very charming, actually. This is a nice practical problem. Sometimes we want to make our data look really nice, you know, if we have this ABC and dead. We want to make this really pop, so we'll put the star border around it. Okay, so basically, if we think about it, there are two ways we could look at this. We could sort of create a new matrix that's like two wider and two longer, and then just put all of our characters inside that new matrix and then return that. Or we could think about it more in a more destructive way, a more like mutating oriented way, where we actually change the original matrix picture, I guess it's called. And we could say, well, for each of these, we want to put a star on the left, a star on the right, star on the left, star on the right, and then we'll put a row of stars on the top and a row of stars on the bottom. So we'll look at both of those methods. I think we'll start with the first one, so making a new matrix. All right, so let's just say let new matrix. No, let's call it something more fun and more descriptive for the problem. So we'll say bordered picture. That's nice. So let bordered picture be this empty array, and we'll say something like let row be assigned the value of, or actually hold on a sec. Let rows be assigned the value of picture.length, length, and let calls be assigned the value of picture at 0.length. Okay, now this is a trick we've pulled a few times here, just to remind you. Picture.length, since picture is an array, it's just how many things are in that array. In this case, how many strings are in the array. That's the number of rows. Number of columns, it's basically saying, well, how long are each of these things? And it does say a rectangular matrix, which implies that they should all be the same length. So, you know, I don't know if there's going to be like 1 or 5 elements here, but I know there's at least going to be 1. So that's why I'm saying picture at 0, since there has to at least be this one. Like, it might not have this one, but it definitely has this one. So we'll say picture at 0.length just to see how long is that thing. Okay, great. And then let's just say something like, well, I say let star row be assigned the value of a star row. So it could be something like, maybe we'll do this trick. New array with length. Well, how long should it be? I guess calls, but then we'll add on 2 extra ones, one for the left, one for the right, and we'll do a little fill here of stars. Okay, and I didn't return anything there, so no surprise. Star row? Yeah, return star row first of all, just to see if that's working. Returning star row, we're getting 5 stars. I think that's what we want. Yep, that's a good review, 5 stars. Okay, so then that's star row, and then we'll say something like for let I be assigned the value 0, I is less than rows, I plus plus, and we'll just say bordered picture dot push star row, and then we'll find out what bordered picture looks like at the end of all that. And okay, the problem here is we don't have enough. what I should have been doing was rows plus 2, just like I did calls plus 2 over here. Okay, so that's, oh yeah, this was an array. We want it to be a string, right? So we would have to do something like a dot join to make it a string. Keep in mind, you might be looking at this and thinking, well, why do you always call dot join with this empty string? Like, could we call it with just nothing? Would that still work? And the answer to that is not quite. Not quite. It's not working the way we want it to. We're getting these commas in between. I actually didn't think it would work at all. But anyway, we could put other stuff. It's basically just telling us what are we going to put in between. So I'm putting a space here. Let's put a space and then the word and then another space. Just to be very, very descriptive about what was in this. So it was an asterisk and an asterisk and an asterisk, etc. Okay, so we do have to do a dot join. Might as well just make it this kind of dot join because we don't want anything in between the asterisks here. We just want a nice compact string. There we go. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. That's looking good. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of stuff that I would argue is maybe not necessary. So check this out. You see the way we're doing star row right now? I want to show you another way we could do star row. So let's say let star row start row. Let star row be assigned the value of asterisk dot repeat calls plus 2. That's a built-in. So dot repeat is something that we can use for any string. And that's a little nicer. I like that better. I mean, if we compare the syntax here, not just for human readability, but also for memory management, right? I mean, this is creating a new array, and then it's joining that array, and now we have a string. But this just goes right for the string, and then repeats it as many times as we need to, concatenates it to itself. And we could do the same thing with a loop, you know, like asterisk plus asterisk, that sort of thing, as many times as we need to. But this is nice. This is nice and compact, and it's very human readable. I mean, this is extremely semantic, this repeat thing. That's nice. I like that. Okay, so then we've got our bordered picture. I'm just going to move this down here so it's a little closer to where we're actually filling up the bordered picture. So this, I think, was working the same as what we had before, as what we wanted. Yes. Okay, great. That's great. Okay, anything else we could do with that? Well, yeah, there is. I mean, we could do something like this. We could say, instead of letting border picture be just this empty thing to begin with, we can pull the same trick that we were doing before. So actually, here, let me keep that there. I'll say let bordered picture be assigned the value of new array with a length of rows plus 2. And now we're going to dot fill, but what are we going to fill with? Star rows. It's going to be all star rows. And now, do we get the same thing as we would with these lines? Let's find out. There we go. So it's as simple as that. We don't need to make it any more complicated. Okay, so that's very nice. We've got our star row, we've got our bordered picture. If we wanted, you know, we could even just not have a separate variable for star row, and we could just like pop that in there and run that, and it should still work the same way. So this is actually quite a, you know, in terms of the number of lines, in terms of the number of bytes here, that's quite an efficient way to make a matrix of stars. Well, I'm putting that matrix, the word matrix, in air quotes right now. But anyway, okay. I think I'm going to keep it like this just because, number one, if we were to do the dot fill and put it in there, again, my fear would be that it's calling the dot repeat a bunch of times. So I figure might as well just save that to memory, put it in star row. Star row is now just going to be this thing. It's going to be the same every time anyway, so we might as well use a variable for that. All right, so we've got bordered picture, but now what we want to do is something like this. For let I be assigned the value of 0, I is less than rows, I plus plus, and for let j be assigned the value of 0, j is less than calls, j plus plus. And then basically what I want to say is that bordered picture at I plus 1, j plus 1 is going to be assigned the value of picture at I at j. Why the plus 1? Well, basically we're offsetting it. So this was 0, 0 before, but now it's going to be 1, 1. This one down here was 1. Oh, that was 1. Let's do this one. This one was 1, 2. Now it's going to be 2, 3. So we're basically just adding 1 because we have a star row up top and a star call along the left side there. Okay, so then basically, if we run this, we should get our bordered picture the way we want it. So let's run that one. And hopefully that's passing all the tests now. Let's find out. Oh, did I make a mistake? Yes, I did. I put a comma instead of a semicolon. These things happen, but that's why it's nice that we have the console to help pick us up when we fall down. Okay, so is this going to run? Is it passing the test? Oh, it's not passing the tests. Hey, wait a minute. What's going on here? We've got, I mean, like, am I returning bordered picture before I'm filling it up or something? What's going on here? Why is this not working? Let me see. So let's do a little console.log and see if it's actually getting picture at I at j. Let's see if, maybe something's going wrong there. Maybe it's not getting to this line or something. No, it's getting them. It's getting A, B, C, D, E, D. So what is it not understanding about this? Well, here's the issue. Okay, and here's why it actually becomes an issue that this is not actually a matrix. It's just an array of strings. Strings are immutable. So, if we did something like this, like let str be, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? Okay, then we could say something like return str at 2. That's fine. That's going to work. We can return, and yeah, it's the y. It's just this thing right here. But if we were to try to do, let's say, str at 2 is assigned the value of, let's say, w, for example, and then we try to return str, it's not changing it. It's still a y. So strings are immutable. We cannot change them that way. But we could do something like this. We could make it an array, and then we could say return the dot join of that at the end. And if we do it that way, now it does work. Now it does allow us to make an alteration. So that's why I kind of took a bit of an issue with them calling this a matrix, because it's not a matrix. It's an array of strings. Okay, so we found that the dot split dot join helped us out here. Maybe we can do the same thing over here. So before we get into this, we'll just say bordered picture is bordered picture dot map. Row gets mapped to row dot split. So that's going to become an array. Each row is now going to be an array, which means we will be able to make an assignment like this. But then the thing is, we don't want it to be arrays at the end, so I'm going to do a dot map where we take each row and we do a dot join. Okay, nice. It's working. So we're getting our border. Oh yeah, doesn't that look nice? That looks nice. And then, ooh, very sharp. Okay, and wow, only 4 tests. I don't know about that. Okay, so then can we run this? Is it going to pass all 4 of the tests? It did. Okay, great. And that's very nice. Yes, that's very nice. And look at that. That brings us up to 27,000 coins. I believe that's 30 cubed. Anyway, so let's go back to this. So is there anything we could do differently here? Well, I guess row.split, there is another way we could do that. We could do something like, I think it was this, right? We saw this the other day, array from row. And I think I remember saying that I like that a little better just because of how semantic it is. But I don't think there's like an equivalent over here. Like I don't think we'd be able to do like string dot from row or something like that. Like I think we have to do the dot join. So let's yeah, exactly. So let's just switch that back to what we had before. Maybe there is some sort of equivalent that would sort of be semantic like this one. But here, this is the thing. Like I don't even know if this is a better way of doing it. It's just something I learned recently. So if anyone knows, let me know. Point is, we've got a working algorithm here. This is passing all the tests, passing all the hidden tests, all 4 of them. But we're going to try a different method. So basically, this was where we created a new matrix, we basically made the picture frame and then put the picture in it. That's kind of how this one worked. But this time, let's do it differently. So we'll say something like, okay, we are going to need a star row. Okay, and we're actually, okay, before we go any further, let's do our rows and our calls the way we had them before. So rows was picture.length and calls was picture at 0.length. And then basically we said star row, not start row, come on, star row is assigned the value of this thing dot repeat. I think this is what we determined was the sort of nice way to do it, right? We liked this method. Okay, star row is that. Whoops, I'm not returning anything. I think I made the same mistake the first time around. Anyway, so star row is going to be, well, that there shouldn't be any surprises here. I mean, this is the same as what we had downstairs, so I don't think it'll work any differently. And then what do we want? Well, basically, we could do something like this. Let sidebordered be assigned the value of picture.map. There's our star row. It's working. Okay, great. So picture.map, and then we're going to say each row is going to get mapped to basically this. We're going to concatenate an asterisk onto the start and onto the end. And now we're going to see, well, what do we get from sidebordered? Okay, great. That's most of what we want to do. We just need to put on the top and the bottom. That's just a star row and another star row. So we could really just do something like this, you know, star row, side bordered, and then another star row. I mean, is that going to work? Is that what we're looking for here? Well, no. The problem is that this in here is still an array. So, well, let's just do our spread operator. Whoops, spread operator is 3 dots. Let's do our spread operator, and we'll see if we can. Yeah, I know. Oh, too many runs. All right, let's take a moment. Maybe we'll take a deep breath here. Okay, great. I feel rejuvenated. Let's run this again. And okay, so now it's passing the sample tests. All right, that's great. That was a little easier, I think, than the one below. So maybe this is the better method. Is there anything we didn't use here? Yeah, we didn't use rows, so we don't actually need to know that. We really just used calls in this one place over here, so I'm kind of inclined to just put this in here, you know, something like that. And will that still run? Yeah, that'll run. So I suppose I could even just put this like right down here, right? Just say we got a star row, we got picture.map. Yeah. Okay, I kind of like that. What do you guys think? Is that good? Is it nice? I kind of like that. It's passing all the tests. Should I leave a space there? No, let's just do it like that. Okay, so let's submit this. Let's see if it passes all the hidden tests. It does. Okay, so that's good. Which one's better? Hard to say. I think they're pretty close. Probably this one is going to be using up more memory, more higher space complexity, I'd say, just because like we're keeping track of more variables. We're making a whole nother. Actually, I don't know. I was going to say we're making a whole nother matrix here, but technically that's kind of like what we're doing over here as well. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're about the same. That's hard to say. Well, okay, one thing I could say is this. This one goes through a loop, whereas this one does not go through a loop. So that would be an advantage that this one has over here. It basically just says, hey, put a star on it, put a star on it. Whereas this one is actually making them all stars, and then it's just overwriting them. So, okay, I like this one better. I think it's nicer. Is it clear to the reader? Well, if it's not, we could throw in some comments. We could, separate it out the way we had it before. But for now, I think we determined it was working, right? I submitted it? Yeah, I submitted it. Okay, great. So, get that 8,000.